Go, go, go. Hi, today we're at Emmawood State Beach. This beautiful, beautiful beach. We're camping up here for the night. We're gonna head down this way. About, I think it's a 3-mile walk if we make it. Heads out to where the Ventura River flows into the bay here. It's called the Ventura Estuary. Now it's really low tide, so check out this guy here. It's a little sea anemone. Curls up when I touch him. See that? Wow. Okay, little barnacles here. A little sea snail. Some algae growing. A little anemone over here too. Now all these rocks here are just covered with mussels. Wow. Here's another big old sea anemone. Looks like 2 of them on top of each other. How about that? So when the tide goes out, you see they kind of just shrivel up a little bit. Like this guy. Here's another one here. You get a bunch. There's one over here too. Now this guy here, he's called a Macrocystis. He's an 8-plated marine mollusk. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8-plated. Now this is really cool. Here we have a sea slug on top of this anemone. So I'm wondering if this anemone's eating him. So he moves there like that. Little sea slug. Okay. A lot of seagulls. There we go. And I'll show you some other cool stuff along the way. Here we got lots of little squirrels up here in the rocks. So we have all sorts of seagulls down here. Most of them come from the genus Larus. And this guy here, he's a Hermes gull. And he's really common in the west coast. Except in spring you don't find him here. And he's pretty rare inland. And he's a really dark gull. He's the only species of our Larus gulls that are dark on the underside. That's how you know this is a Hermes gull. So these guys here, they are long-billed curlews. Numenius americanus. And they're rather common along our beach here. So check out this big feeding frenzy going on. I think a bunch of seagulls. They're following a school of fish. So here's a guy fishing. He's probably going to catch a perch. If he's lucky, he'll get a corbina. Out here, we got some dolphins. Couple. Let's see if they come up. There he is. Here we have a little shell. Alright, this is from a mussel. Check it out. Ah. So this little plant we find up here, he's called a salt heliotrope because he loves the sun, heliotrope, and he loves the salt water. Alright? He's got this beautiful double row of starlight flowers. They're 5 petals, and they kind of grow out like a little caterpillar, and he's super, super fleshy. Look at that. Wow. He loves to grow out here on the coast, but I want to show you something up here. So up here, all these guys, here, here, these are all mussels. They're California mussels. Not like Arnold Schwarzenegger mussels, but like mussels, M-U-S-S-E-L-S. It's Mytilus californianus. Alright? Anyway, okay, they grow up and down all the coastline at low tide. You get them all exposed here, and the seagulls love to pick them off and eat them. Now, of course, we have a bunch of algae, right, and seaweed growing along the rocks. This is low tide. So the seaweed here, right, seaweed, this is called Macrocystis. It's got these big macro leaves, and that what makes up all the big kelp beds out here. So I call this guy just seagrass. It's really hard to tell what it is. But here we got some barnacles, right? Growing on a rock here. The tide's really coming in, so here's a little bit of a jellyfish right here. Right. No stingers on him. Here's another little piece. So I guess you eat it, makes you smarter. Prevagen, right? Prevagen. Jellyfish. So here's one of our little stormwater basins. You ever hear, like, you know, the coast is contaminated, don't swim? Well, the junk runs down from the hills and the towns out into our ocean, out here. But here, take a look at this. So you think this guy here is common ice plant. You find in your house, pretty common, but not as common as this guy right here. This little red guy, kind of red and dark little blooms, he's officially called the common ice plant. He's a little succulent prostate plant. He grows really flat. So he's native to Africa and Europe, but he's been naturalized out here in California. He's got these large, glistening bladder cells, or water vesicles. This common ice plant, or a crystalline ice plant. Sometimes he's just called an ice plant. And he can grow like 23, 25 inches across. Let's see a pluck away. See how ice planty looking he is? And he gets these little buds on him. Kind of weird plant. All right. So here we have flying in our brown pelicans. Wow. So here we have a couple of turkey vultures and a seagull. They're snacking on something. Let's go find out what it is. Now this is a carcass. Holy moly. Oh, poor guy. There's his tail here. And up here, he has a little head. So here's our vulture. He's waiting for us to leave. Go back to eat his dinner. So here we have a little lobster carapace, or shell. Okay, little lobster around the ocean. Now the difference between California lobsters and like Maine lobsters, our lobsters don't have those big old claws. We got another one here. Get some more shells over here. This guy's got the, right, his little tentacles hooked on. Here's the little head. Okay. Check that out. That's really, really cool. How about that? Little eyes right there. There's so much to see here. All right, so check out this guy here. It's this totally weird looking thingamabob. All right. This is a mollusk. He's all fleshy, like a giant snail. He's called a Gumboot Chiton. Okay? It's called wandering meatloaf. Look at that guy. Wow. Cryptochiton stelleri. He's also known as a western fiery chiton, or a giant Pacific chiton. He's the largest of all chitons. Gets like 14 inches long. This guy's probably, I don't know, 10 inches long. So you find them all along the shores of northern Pacific Ocean, up to Alaska, Central California, even out in Kamchatka, and south down to Japan. Wow. So anyway, the reason why it's called a Gumboot Chiton, he gets his name from the Wellington boot, or what's called the gum rubber boot. So of course he's a mollusk. He's got 8 armored plates, runs down the back of his body here. He's got leathery upper skin, little girdle. It's usually reddish brown or brown, sometimes orange. Now, in their real form, this guy, he's got teeth. I don't know. He's a mollusk here, but this is what's left of him. He's got teeth, and he's the first organism to use this little teeth called magnetite to scrape off algae off the rocks. And that was discovered in Italy. So he's kind of a new guy here. It's called a gumboot. It's kind of gross. I wouldn't eat him. Hey, check out this little guy here. This is a Pacific rock crab. Some people call him a California rock crab. And you find him in the fisheries south of Morro Bay. Now his Latin name is Ramelium antenarium, or Amolium antenarium, either way is fine. Alright, you find him in North America. He's got this fan-shaped carapace, right, around the edges here. He's got 11 little teeth. I don't know if you see him. He's got 11 little teeth on either side of his little hair stalks here. And the widest point is like the 8th or 9th tooth. So he's a cheliped. He's quite stout. He's got black tips, alright, that point downward. His antenna, right here, his little antennae there, well, they're kind of long, and they're prominent. And the dorsal surface of the adult is usually red, like we have here, and his carapace is kind of a little bit spotted, alright? Wow. So it used to be called a, from the genus Cancer, but they changed it to Ramelian, or Ramelian. So you can eat these guys. Cool little crab, little pinchers there. Wow. Alright. Still on our walk. Wow, here we have another one of our sea lions, poor guy. But anyway, take a good look at him. Wow, check out these brown pelicans. So the trail here, you can't walk along the water the whole way, so you go up on this sandy trail right here. You get all these little inland sand dune plants like desert or sand dune verbena. Alright, all sorts of other little kind of succulent looking plants. But I'm going to cover that when we head up to Pismo Beach, Oceana Dunes. One of our next stop along our trip here. So I won't bore you too much with these beautiful little sand dune plants. Aren't they crazy though? Look at this. So what the thing is, so these dunes here are always shifting, right? Left, right, wind, rain. But when you get a plant here, what it does is it secures the base. It so the sand doesn't shift. So see how the sand shifted here? Wherever you see plants, they kind of secured intact. Right over here. So where you have these little mountains here, or mounds, that's all secured by the little plants. Isn't that kind of amazing? Otherwise you get all flat, sand dune looking. So this little plant here is called pink sand verbena. I call it verbena. Other people call it verbena. Got some more up here. All up and down the dunes here. Right. It's called Abronia umbellata. Here. So it's a flowering annual plant. So he's native to western North America, especially up in our dunes here. He's also called beach sand verbena, purple sand verbena. So this pretty little shrub, this is called a coast goldenbush or a coastal goldenbush. Either way is fine. It's Isocoma menziesii. He's growing right next to our saltbush. He's a member of the Asteraceae family, so he's an aster. So those flowers here, they're really bright yellow, but it's really hundreds of little tiny flowers in the flowers. So in the very center we have disc flowers, and here you can see they got the little anthers popping up there. We got pollen, stamens, all the goodies. And on the outside we have little ray florets, and on top, when you have it like this covering the top, it's covered with what's called filaries. And the filaries will peel back, expose the flower. So it's just a type of a golden bush, real common out here. The leaves, okay, they're really serrated. They're longish. They're not very long, but they're longish. Ovate. Alright, little plant here. It loves growing on the coast. That's why it's called a coastal golden bush. Here we have another one of our great blue herons in the wash, and over here we have a white egret. It's really hard to identify, but he's definitely a type of saltbush. He's a Atriplex or an Atriplex, and I believe this is Atriplex lentiformis, also called a quail bush or a big salt bush. And so he's native throughout southwestern United States, northern Mexico. It likes to grow in saline environments or salt flats, kind of by our beach. Here we got a little beetle, a little bug. Looks like a stink bug. Of course, no coastal environment is complete without our prickly pear cacti. Coastal prickly pear, right, from the genus Opuntia. So this plant here that's flowering in the morning, here, this is a sacred Datura, Datum wrightii. It's a common roadside, call them a weed flowers here. He's common from like Arkansas to California. You see them all along the freeways. And he'll bloom at night, and he'll close up later on in the day. He's a super strong hallucinogen, very, very addictive. So don't eat this guy, don't smoke this guy, because it just fries your brain. Sacred Datura here. So we made it to the lagoon right here. This is the Ventura River as it flows out into the Pacific Ocean. All these dune plants I mentioned, and they're all flowering right now. So we're gonna have some great videos later on. All these beautiful plants. Some are dryish, some are very succulent. They all flower absolutely beautifully. Okay, look at this guy here. It's called wild rhubarb. You can eat it. Yeah, it's like a rhubarb.
invertebrates. So this whole area is kind of magical because it's where the salt water and the fresh water mix. So you get all sorts of different animals. I think you even get steelhead trout here, which is endangered in California. This here is southern cattail. All this here, it's like a reed sort of plant, invasive to California. It's a little hot dog plant. So at the top, here's all the male parts. You know, the anther and the pollen. And down here, of course, we have the female parts, the ovaries, and other materials. And this will, so I'm going to break one off here. So inside, this is all going to get really bloomy and floaty with the seeds on it, and the seeds will just float away in the wind. That's our southern cattail. Big marsh here of it. Loves to grow in marshy areas, like we have here. See how some is growing in the mud, others growing actually in the water. Wow, how about that? Wow, so up here you see this kind of tall grass-like plant. Kind of looks like corn. It's like corn on the cob, all right? This is a sorghum. It's sorghum halepense. It's called Johnson grass. So he's really native to Asia and North Africa, but he's been introduced throughout the entire world. He's pretty invasive out here, but he's used for foraging to stop erosion. Okay, he's got even enough hydrogen sometimes, or hydrogen cyanide, to kill cattle or horses if they eat too much. So don't be eating this thing too much. But it grows rapidly, chokes out other plants, and he's one of the 10 worst weeds in the world. It's called Johnson grass, or sorghum. So these trees here, it's called a Monterey Cypress, and they only grow in the entire world up by Pismo Beach. Okay, a couple other tiny little places up there. So these are not actually native to where we are at Emma Wood, but you find them here. You can watch my other video, find out more about this Monterey Cypress. It's an amazing plant. Out here in the coast, so we have our little channel islands out here. Of course, we have Santa Cruz Island, Santa Barbara, Catalina's down this way, way down this way. A lot of whales come up here, and dolphins, porpoises, orcas, humpback whales. Well, that concludes our little tour. Emma Beach down to this little Ventura waterway. I saw a bunch of stuff. Oh, another seagull. Wow. And there's way too much to see on a little video. But thanks for watching. I think if you have time, this is a fantastic place to come. But you got to make reservations because it fills up pretty fast. And it's primitive camping, so you're kind of self-sustained here. All right? Beautiful. Have a great day.